And we're back. Hey, we are here. This season 2, episode 1. And we're talking everything IWE with the Creature Feature John Campbell. He's directly below us, hopefully.
There he is.
There he
Hello.
is.
Sorry, I had to jump out and reshare the link.
Yeah.
So, again, this is season 2, episode 1 of Beyond the Mat. And we have a special guest today to share everything IWE that he can give us. The Creature Feature, John Campbell. Thank you for joining us, sir. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you for having me.
You sit in rare air. You are one of only 2 people who have, well, 3 people who have made multiple appearances on our programming. You sit in the same chair as the Wildcat Chris Harris and Shane Taylor.
That's awesome. I'm very honored to be here. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me and for wanting to do this to spread awareness of Imperial Wrestling Entertainment. It means a lot to all of us, especially, being a small company, being a family business. It's kind of how you always hear support small business. So anything and everything that you guys do to help us is greatly appreciated.
Well, I mean, that's what we are. We're a small mom and pop, brother kind of podcast, and we want to help you guys get to where you guys want to be.
Right.
Absolutely.
Let's be honest, because I'm sure Matt will agree. I use this opportunity as a self-care moment. I take care of 8 kids in the foster home.
Wow.
And so if I can sit behind this camera and talk to my brother and talk to wrestlers like you for an hour, it takes me out of reality for a minute, and it just helps me through the day. So I thank you. I applaud you, your roster, every other independent wrestling promotion out there. I thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Well, hey, I appreciate it. And that's, one of the big things we strive to do at IWE. We always try to make our shows affordable. We always try to do kids free, you know what I mean? Because everybody does need that break, from time to time to just kind of escape reality and go out and do something that, takes their mind off of the regular 9-to-5 grind or, just all the stuff bothering them. If we can give people, a good entertaining show, once a month or once every other month, and they can have that family time or they can have that escape, that's what our job is we help, try to provide that for people. So, I can definitely relate to that too, because, IWE is kind of my escape from the real world that, tends to beat you down all the time.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about IWE. I've got 3 main questions that maybe our listeners haven't actually know much about you guys. When did you decide? Sure. When was the definitive moment to be like, I'm going to do this?
It was me, and I can't take full credit. We're a team. We have a great crew of people. It was myself and Stuntman Mike. We were friends outside of the business. We had met before either one of us gotten into the business. And, and he doesn't mind me saying this, he's a little bit older, and when he approached me about, hey, I really want to train to wrestle and this, that, and the other, because of his age, not a lot of people would give him the time of day. And he's such an entertaining personality, on and off camera, the guy's just, he's a riot. And I just thought if somebody somewhere could, harness this, and not just with him, we would see it with, all these other, independent guys, where it's like, if somebody could just harness this and give these people a chance, they could really do something and do something meaningful. And we had just been, I don't want to say fired, because you can't really get fired in independent wrestling, but we kind of had a falling out with our home promotion. I didn't really exactly like the way that Stuntman was being treated there. They would, just, I don't want to get into specifics, but basically, like, we had kind of just decided that day, like, hey, if they're gonna treat people like this, we're done. We're not going to do this anymore. And going around to different other various independent promotions, we would always kind of take mental notes, like, well, shoot, if I was the promoter, I think I would have done it this way, because then you get like a return on the angle. It gives people a chance to come back next month and see what's going to happen. A lot of times on independent shows, you don't really see that. It's just kind of matches for the sake of matches, or like, oh, hey, wouldn't it be cool if these guys wrestled? And yeah, a lot of times it would be cool if those guys wrestled, but if you give them a reason to wrestle, it makes it, even more so. And so we were just kind of sitting around one day talking, like, if we had a promotion, maybe we could do it this way, we could do it this way. And I remember he just turns to me and he's like, what's really stopping us right now? And needless to say, we didn't have any of our ducks in a row, but we kind of decided right then and there, like, hey, if we can ever make a run of this, we can ever make a go of this, let's try it. What could it hurt? And I kind of pulled together like a bunch of my resources from people that I knew. I was able to find a wrestling ring that a promoter of mine was getting out of a promoter friend of mine was getting out of the business and was going to sell and everything like that. So the dots kind of started to connect, and we started doing our shows at a TV studio here in Mount Pleasant. And it was basically just, basically big enough for the ring and maybe like, 10 fans if you're lucky. Well, those 10 fans turned into 20 fans, turned into 30 fans, turned into 50 fans, turned into fire code violations. And so, we had to find a bigger building. And now, as they say, the rest is history. And, it's not as cut and dry as that, because there's a lot of hard work, a lot of nuances. Like I said, we didn't have our ducks in a row at all, but I'm a big fan of punk rock and do it yourself and kind of fly by the seat of your pants, you know what I mean? So it's like, all right, well, if we didn't have our ducks in a row this time, we'll remember that for next time. Oh, this came up, well, we'll remember that for next time. And it took quite a few times, quite a few years for the machine to kind of become well oiled. And now I think we're one of the more successful companies in not just in Michigan, but in the Midwest. You never see our crowds empty. We always give them wanting more. And we have a very loyal and rabid fan base that allows us to do what we do, because without the fans, I say it all the time, you have to treat your fans like gold, because without them, this doesn't exist. And so, I guess that's kind of the cut and dry, like rambly answer to that. But the short answer is just none of us had any common sense, and we didn't. we just thought it would be a good idea.
Basically, I had the two other questions I had is how'd you make it happen? You covered that, and what keeps it alive. You answered everything I wanted out of that, Scott.
All right. Well, hey, good podcast, everybody.
No. As I listen to what you say, John, about I think the misconception is I think fans believe that independent show is just okay, gonna make a bunch of money and just the wrestlers make a bunch of money, they go home. But truth of the matter is that's the complete opposite, right?
I don't want to say the complete opposite, because IWE's been very sustainable, you know, the past few years, but it took us quite a long time to get that way, you know. And I don't want to say like I'm paying our guys like millions of dollars or anything like that, but because, you know, I don't want to give away like all my business secrets, because anytime something like this comes out, other people just copy it. But let's just say that our business model is not a business model that anybody else follows. And because nobody else follows that, you know, I would, you know, hazard to guess that none of them, you know, outside of like promotions that bring in like big names to like, you know, bring in a crowd and everything. But even when you bring in a big name, you have to, you know, charge like $50 a ticket. And in 2024, you know, who has like $50 a ticket to take their whole family out for a night? So, you know, like, I think because we keep our shows affordable, we make it up in volume. You know, people who couldn't come before are now in the door. And so you have a crowd that may have been, you know, 100 before, could be 300 now because everybody can afford to go. And, you know, more people in the door. That means, you know, hey, I didn't have to pay an arm and a leg. So now I have this extra money left over. Let's buy a couple of t-shirts, and that helps the wrestlers. You know, so our guys, everybody on our crew, and this is something that I'm proud of because you don't hear about this anywhere. You know, our ring crew guys, our referees, our AV guys, our general support staff, you know, even people that come in, you know, just set up the chairs and kind of like go get people water and just do like little remedial jobs. They all get paid at the end of the night. Now, again, I'm not saying it's not like $1 million or anything like that, but, you know, it's at least a little bit of gas money and a little bit of food in your stomach. And, you know, I think that being a independent promoter where everybody on your staff gets paid is something that at least I'm proud of, you know, because, because you don't, I mean, some of these places, the wrestlers don't even get paid. You know, and that's just kind of the nature of the business, though. You know what I mean? But I'm proud to say that if you work on our show in any capacity, you are going to get something at the end of the night.
And I guess why I asked that question, John, is because I think of two little statements: brotherhood and paying your dues, right? Because if it wasn't for all you guys getting together and setting that ring up and setting those chairs up and tearing down and all that stuff, it would be tough.
Oh, yeah, we couldn't do it. You know, that's why I always will put over what a great team that we have. You know, I never say like IWE is mine or IWE is this. I always say it's us. You know what I mean? And that goes back to, you know, why wrestlers will always shake everybody's hand, you know, before you, like when you get to the building and when you leave it afterwards. You know, it's not just like a respect thing. It's not just like a brother in the business thing. It's because we all need each other. You know what I mean? Without the people setting up the ring, there's not going to be a ring. Without the people recording the show, there's not going to be any footage. Without the referees, there's not going to be a 1, 2, 3. You know, without the wrestlers, there's not going to be those stories told. And certainly without the fans, there's not going to be, you know, a show regardless. So everybody needs everybody in this business. And I think that's something that I think has kind of gotten away from some people, you know, and it's unfortunate that it's gotten away from some people, but I always try to carry that with me. It's like, hey, without this great team of people, you know what I mean? I can't do all this by myself, you know?
So looking back over, because you've been doing this, you've been doing IWE for 10 years, right? We just celebrated back. My first show was the 10-year anniversary.
Oh, wow.
It was a hell of a show.
And that's crazy. I kind of want to get a little personal, though. It's crazy because we've known each other for, gosh,
at least 13, 14 years.
Yeah, something like that. So, you know, I had always just thought like you came to one of our earlier shows when we really didn't have our crap together and decided, maybe their show's not for me. Because we've had that happen before. And then people come, you know, get a chance like a few years later and they're like, wow, this is like, this is amazing. The wrestling's good. The story flows. We always try to make things kind of flow into each other. And we try to set things up like if you're watching, say, I always use this show as an example. I don't know if it's on anymore, but like Sons of Anarchy, right? Where, the show ends, but it leaves you on a cliffhanger. So you have to tune in next week to see what's going on. We always try to do our shows that way, to where it's like, whoa, I got to come to the next one to see if that guy gets his revenge, or to see, how this storyline plays out and stuff. So, we didn't really have a ton of that in the beginning. So, I just always thought maybe you were like, maybe they're not for me. These jokers don't know what they're doing.
No, it was more of a, like, and you probably be like, yeah, likely excuse. It just schedules just never aligned until that, like, we had that one Saturday that you guys were there, and we didn't have anything, and nothing came up. So we're like, we got to get up there, we got to do it. And
awesome.
my kid's already like waiting. Andrew's already like excited for the October show. So,
awesome. I'm happy to hear that. I really am. Because and that's another thing too that I think a lot of people miss the mark on. People always want to be, let's be like the adult oriented wrestling show, and let's be edgy, and let's do this and this. And meanwhile, you're eliminating half of your market share there if you're looking at it from a strictly business sense. You know what I mean? If you can make a show that's entertaining to both kids and adults, to where adults aren't going to be afraid to bring their kids to it, there you go. You know what I mean? You just doubled your, attendance.
Not gonna lie, what really kind of reeled him in was one of the talent there, Starla Banner, standing next to him and
Starla Spangle.
Yeah. She said she stood out outside talking to Andrew for about 45 minutes, and just interacting with him and the other kids. Andrew's all like, what, this is really cool. If this is what, and he told me on the way home, if this is what indie wrestling is like, I wanna go to more shows.
Well, I can't speak for all indie wrestling. I can only speak for IWE. I've been out of the independent wrestling scene basically since I started IWE, or me and Dennis. Sorry, me and Stuntman Mike, wink, wink, break kayfabe, started IWE. So I can't speak for other independent shows, but another thing I think that sets us apart is we have that fan interaction. You know what I mean? It's not uncommon, for us to like, hey, let's bring in a kid into the ring and have them be like, the special guest ring announcer. You know what I mean? Let's do things that will, create these memories for people. So, they can always have that with them. Like, I had a really good time at that wrestling show when I was a kid. And, and then maybe when they're older, they take their kids to wrestling shows and they can reminisce about the times, they had fun at IWE. Like, oh my God, I got to like get in the ring and be a ring announcer. I remember I had a casket match one time and I threw the guy in the casket, and I had a kid from the crowd actually come and shut the casket on the heel. You know what I mean? Like little things like that, make wrestling fans for life.
So I love those kind of stories. I love stories in general. What are some of your like past and current storylines and feuds, not just you that had, but for IWEs in general? Like some of your favorite ones.
Some of my favorite ones, I think right now, the storyline with the Cream Street Mafia, they're the heel tag team champions, and the Moon Pie Bandits, that's so Cream Street Mafia, that's Nick Baker and Roberto Cruz. And the Moon Pie Bandits, that's Dogman Bam and Jeremiah J. Hughes. So you have kind of the Cream Street Mafia, the roughneck kind of gangsters. And then you have the Moon Pie Bandits, and they're kind of, the fun-loving, scuffling hillbillies, not unlike, Hillbilly Jim from back in the day. And just not just the matches that they have, but, like the twists and turns that, the storyline kind of has taken over the years, where now Nick Baker's son is involved, and now it's like brought up the history between, like, all four guys. They like grew up together, and just all these things. Like, I think that's a really good storyline that's hooked a lot of people in. I think, because I don't want to like toot my own horn or anything, but the storyline with me and 24K, where and Nick Van Core, although he's kind of off doing his thing right now, he'll be back in, I don't know, he'll be back sometime, I think. But I think that storyline's really captivated people, because now like a little bit of real life is involved, because Nick Van Core used to be my tag team partner back in the day. And then my wife, who she is like an on-screen character, she does kind of like some wraparound segments for the Facebook page and social media and stuff, kind of like, hey, these are the matches coming up and everything like that. They've been, bringing her up in promos and stuff like that. So, it's just been me going crazy, like trying to, defend my wife's honor, and, always getting, hit from behind or something stupid. The stuff with Scott Atlas has been a lot of fun. He's a new character. He made his debut last October, and he's basically a security guard who's on a power trip. And, he thinks because he's the law, he has, free reign to interfere in matches and do whatever he wants. And, that stuff's always been really entertaining. He actually arrested me on my return match back in October from my injury. So right as I was about to get the 3 on Nick Van Core, 1, 2, hits that siren, under arrest for assault and battery. So he handcuffs me, takes me out of the building. I get counted out. I lose my return match. So, you know what I mean? Just silly stuff
funny
like
you
that.
bring him up. It's funny you bring him up. Quick little plug for next week's show. He will be here. I'm not saying to be in the chat, but you might want to be in the chat.
I might.
To add heat to this, John.
Yes.
You talked about Scott Atlas, right? He's going to be here next week.
Yeah.
He's the one that slapped you from behind in the legs back in Heritage Days in Oscoda, correct?
Yep. I called out 24K. So I'll kind of give you the kayfabe, and because everybody knows wrestling's a work, but I'll give you like some kind of behind the scenes stuff here. So yeah, I called out 24K because, he likes to run his mouth, not just about me, not just about the IWE fans, who the IWE fans are my family. So it's like you're talking about my family. But, he likes, again, like I said, he likes to talk smack about my wife, oh, when are you going to leave him and take me out to dinner, kind of goofy stuff like that. And so as I was calling him out, Scott Atlas comes and he wallops me in the knee with his baton. And the footage, like, there's like some kind of fan cam footage out there. When he hits me with that thing, you can hear it hit me. Like he laid into me. He drilled me with that thing. It hurt. It sucked. Now the shoot reason is my opponent, Sean Mordecai. I'm not going to get into details. He couldn't make it to the show. He will be there at not Heritage Days. He will be at Rockfest though, September 7th, so we can have our match as originally planned. So that was my way of taking myself off of the show, because as a promoter, I feel like I have, the responsibility to, not just do right by, the show and the fans and everything, but I have to do right by the guys. And so I took myself off of the show and just did the Rumble that way, because I didn't want to take that spot from somebody else. You know what I mean? I didn't want to have to pull somebody else out of their match just so I could have a match. So, you know, that's kind of the kayfabe / shoot reason why it went down that way. But I will say he drilled me with that thing too. So even if we would have, even if I would have been able to, you know, have a match that day, it would have been rough. Cause yeah, I was limping pretty good after he did that to me.
Now my
Cause
question,
it's a real baton too. It's real metal baton. It's one of those like retractable ones where you kind of flick it like the old Star Wars toy. It goes.
oh geez.
Just, yeah. So he Tanya Hardinged me.
So I mean, here's a business question for you. Do you pay him more than the Midland Mall does? Because I'm just wondering, you know.
I've heat with the Midland Mall right now.
Yeah.
I've heat with them. No, that they just.
No, I'm just saying about the mall cop references.
Oh yeah. But I've heat with the Midland Mall right now. The Midland Mall Comic-Con, they're making some bad choices. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Scotty?
I just got a video. Hold up. Go ahead, Matt. I have a video that I would love to show up. Because you say,
oh boy,
Scott Atlas attacks you.
Yes.
But I got footage, and I don't know if this could be entertaining footage, but I got footage once it stops processing that we might get a different viewpoint from Mr. John Campbell. And here we go.
Officer Scott Atlas here with the next Atlas Agendum. And I'm fed up right now because you people can't keep my name out of your mouth. The fans, the wrestlers, everybody backstage, the backstage crew, the photographers, nobody will leave me alone. I'm being hazed in more ways than one, and I'm fed up. There's nothing going on right now that makes you have the right to talk about me. I'm done with this crap. I'm done.
How you doing, Scott? Remember me?
No.
It looks like you can't keep my name out of your mouth.
No.
But that's okay, Scott, because I'll tell you this. At Heritage Days, Bacon Bucket has a plan for you.
Get that out of my face.
The plan is for you to be in the Heritage Days Rumble. You see, you want to come out here and act like a wrestler and talk like a wrestler? Well, guess what? It's about time you started getting treated like a wrestler. So, Scott, no, don't worry. I'm not going to hurt you too bad. But I know there's lots of people out there who do want to hurt you real bad.
Don't do it.
So you brought a hammer into his car, inviting him to Heritage Days. How are you supposed to not expect some retaliation?
Oh, I fully expected retaliation, but see, this is typical media now. What you didn't show was a week before that, he attacked me while I was walking to my car. He attacked me from behind, slammed me into my SUV, into the door and everything like that, completely blindsided me. So I actually thought that I was the more noble one, where I actually didn't attack him. I just threatened him. So, I mean, you know, I think we can, you know, say what we want to say about old Scott Atlas, you know, but he's an opportunist. And when I had the opportunity, I said, no, I'm going to do it in the Heritage Days Rumble because that's the more noble way to do things. He felt, you know, differently, I guess, and attacked me before the Heritage Days Rumble. And he had to do it with a weapon, too. So I never actually hit him with the hammer. I just wanted to scare the guy.
I mean, that may be topic of discussion next week as well. So stay tuned for next week's episode as well. Maybe you'll see a special guest creature feature, if you will. So what's in store for you at the end of this year? Like, don't give away your story, but I'm sure you have something pretty big coming in for yourself, or and not just yourself, but for the company as a whole.
Well, for the company as a whole, I'm trying to take any and every opportunity that we can to grow. We usually do like a couple of road shows per year, mostly in the summertime, with festivals and everything like that. But I'm hoping to be on the road a little bit more next year and get into some towns that, I think would treat us really well. Everett is kind of on the radar. Our friend over at Affordable Prints, he does all of our, like flyers and posters and things that we sell at the shows, all of our print work. He approached me about, possibly getting something going there in Everett. We're looking into, just kind of seeing, what towns would want IWE, what towns would be accepting of IWE, because this is another thing on, business wise that not a lot of people see is wrestling has a really bad stigma. You tell people, oh, hey, I want to rent your building for a wrestling show. And, they say wrestling. Well, that's those, drunk hillbillies punching each other in the head, or, they think it's like, MMA or UFC or, something crazy like that. And, when we try to tell them, oh, it's family friendly, this, that, and the other, a lot of times they just won't take a chance on it. So it's really hard to get some of those, buildings and places, but they see all the charity work we do. They see a lot of the different organizations that we help. And, so I think that helps with that. But I'm trying to do whatever we can to grow. But as far as me personally, just, I'm getting older, my body isn't as forgiving as it once was. That's why I'm constantly in the gym, just trying to pack on muscle and size and stuff. So the bumps that I do take, don't hurt as much, or I can make them mean more and things like that. But, as far as the end of the year, I really don't know, but I know I'm more toward the end of my career than I am the beginning. Let's put it that way.
So how old is Frankenbucket?
Frankenbucket is, let's see, if you carry the one, I want to say Frankenbucket is 77 and a half years old.
Yeah, he's getting up there in age too, huh?
Nah, buckets live a long time.
Okay.
They're like tortoises.
So I've but I've listened to a lot of podcasts, and a lot of wrestlers talk about they started their promotions and they don't put themselves in any sort of championship matches. Is that something that you that you specifically have done for yourself as well?
Yes. If you watch IWE from the inception to now, I've held 2 titles, and I have only held those 2 titles out of necessity. The first time, and this is hilarious. You want to dig into the weeds and kind of get into a deep cut. So the first ever show, it was myself and a wrestler, Will Vendetta. And it was for the heavyweight title, right? The winner becomes the inaugural heavyweight champion. Supposed to end in a no contest. And then the next month we were going to come back and do a tournament, it was going to be Will Vendetta winning the tournament. Well, I hit my finish on Will Vendetta. Wrestler's supposed to come in, slide in, break up the count, no contest, yada, yada, leave it on a cliffhanger, come back next month, see what happens. So I hit my finish. I roll them up. 1, 2, 3. I look at the referee looks at me and he's like, congrats, champ. So I won the title based on somebody else missing their cue. And then like a few months later, I dropped it because I couldn't drop it right away. You know what I mean? Otherwise, like the whole thing would have been pointless. So I won the title once on accident. Again, this is going back to we didn't have our stuff together. And then me and Bill Blackwell held the tag team championship for a couple of months because the tag teams that we did have that were established, it seemed that, you know, one would be healthy and then one would be hurt. And I'm like, well, you know I'm not going to, you know, miss any events, or if I do, you know, like I just can't miss events or my events. You know what I mean? So we held the belts for a couple of months until the one guy on the team was healthy enough to come back, and then we ended up dropping them to him. But it's basically just been out of necessity. I lose 90% of my matches. Like I always, you know, try to use what, you know, little recognition that I do have to elevate other people and make them the stars. You know what I mean? Like I'm very out front and kind of like, I guess, the figurehead of IWE. Like when it's IWE, like getting promoted, you know, it's usually something with me. But, you know, I think that's just because it's my business. So, you know, I'm the one out there, you know, putting up the flyers, and I'm the one, you know, taking the press interviews and things like that, only just because it's my company. So they see me, they see a picture of me, boom, they'll run a picture of me. But I always try to make IWE less about me and more about, you know, the other guys on the roster. You know what I mean? Like, if I can do what I can, because like I said, I'm at the end of my career. I don't know how much I have left, but if I can leave it to where those guys are established and now I'm gone and I'm not wrestling anymore and I'm not necessarily a draw, that way the business can be sustainable.
Yeah. So as a promoter, when you create the card, to create the match card, it's how important is it to have like a very, how do I say it? I don't want to call any matches bad matches, but you have to start out with a banger of a match, right, to keep the crowd interested, because you don't want to come in with a soft one, because then the crowd's like,
sure.
Okay. So how do you decide that?
I always try to put myself on first. There's a couple reasons for that. One, because I know I can get the fans into it and I can get the fans riled up. You know what I mean? I'm going to kind of diss myself, but I'm also going to kind of, you know, put myself over, I guess. You know, I don't have to go out there and do, you know, like 100 flips for the fans to be entertained. You know what I mean? Like I can go out there and I can chain wrestle with the best of them. And, you know, I've made that abundantly clear, you know, in the past, but the fans really aren't into that. You know, they want to see me go crazy. They want to see me talk to a bucket. They want to see me, you know, act like a lunatic and throw people around. So that's what I'm going to do, because that's what entertains them. You know, like I can go out there and throw candy to the crowd and, you know, act like a complete, you know, psychopath. And then what, am I going to go in there and put somebody in like an arm bar? Like it's kind of silly. You know what I mean? They do. They just want to see me throw people around and act like a lunatic. And it's almost kind of like the Hacksaw Jim Duggan spot. You know what I mean? Like go out there, you do your shtick and get the fans into it. And then the show can continue rolling on. So I always feel like I'm a good kind of hand to get the fans entertained and ready for like a hot night of action. And that's why I always try to put myself on, if not first, second. And also too, that way, you know, my match is done and I can then focus on the actual, you know, running of the show, the backstage, the sending people out for their cues and, You know what I mean? Getting stuff to like the commentators and whatnot, you know, like the way our gorilla position set up, we have a camera and we have a video monitor, and I sit right there and I watch everything. So if I have to send a cue or a signal out to somebody, you know, boom, I'm right there to do that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like once that part of my night's done, the other part can begin.
Now, you said you don't do the flips and whatnot, but I have to throw this out there. I have to throw this clip up here. One of the coolest things I saw that night was this.
Yeah, it's the Frankenflop.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really cool. I mean, but
yeah, and that's the thing. It's different, you know what I mean? And I wasn't like trying to disparage, you know, like doing flips or like, you know, all that stuff. But, you know, I'm a power wrestler, you know what I mean? Like I'm a punch kick brawler kind of guy at heart. I can do the other stuff. You know, oh, are you guys there? You guys disappeared for a second. Okay. But yeah, it's kind of like I said, you know, when you know, watch a Hacksaw Jim Duggan match, you know, people want to chant USA, people want to do the big ho, and they want to see him, you know, beat people up and, you know, hit them with the big clothesline. You know, like I can pull stuff out like that, but I feel like because I don't do it that often, it means more. You know, it's like having the same meal for dinner every night, you know. Eventually you're not going to enjoy it as much because you have it all the time. But if I can pull stuff out like that out of my hat every once in a while and get people to like, whoa, you know, what was that? Where did that come from? You know, or like the one that I don't do it as often, you know, especially because I got hurt, but I used to put a guy in a chair and I'd suicide dive out of the ring onto the guy onto the chair. You know, very cool visual, very dangerous, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things like if I did that every night, it wouldn't mean anything, you know? Yeah. So I try to, you know, I guess save some for the sequel.
So we're getting close to the end here. I want you to send a message since we do have Scott Atlas, Officer Scott Atlas, coming on next week. Would you care to say anything to him in just as a message to him going forward into next week when he comes onto the show?
Scott Atlas, listen, I know that's not your strong point, but I need you to open your ears and I need you to close your mouth for once in your life. This is a big opportunity. You are going to be on the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. You are going to be on Beyond the Mat with 2 T's, M-A-T-T. These people are my friends. These people are my close personal friends, family. If you come on here and you act like a fool, if you come on here and act like an idiot, and you come on here and not only embarrass Imperial Wrestling Entertainment any more than you already have, but if you come on here and embarrass them, I will do tenfold to you. But I'm not going to embarrass you on a podcast, Scott. No. I'm going to embarrass you in front of the IWE family. I'm going to embarrass you in front of the IWE crowd. I'm going to embarrass you in such a way that I don't think you'll ever recover. So, Scott, choice is yours. You can be a pro or you can be a goof. Knowing your track record, I bet you're going to be a goof. But that's okay, because Frankenbucket's up there. And as Frankenbucket as my witness, I can tell you this. Scott Atlas, your days are numbered. It's about time I welcome you to my nightmare.
And we've been fluctuating between 5 and 6. He said he was going to be in the chat, but apparently his fingers aren't working. He's probably just watching, be like, maybe not.
Maybe not.
I reached out to him earlier and he didn't respond to me, so he must be kind of probably scared. I don't know.
He should be scared. He should be scared. This is the thing about Scott Atlas. This is the thing about 24K. Whenever you get them alone, they're nothing. You have to watch out when they're together. That's the only time they can ever get the drop on anybody. Watch any of their matches. Watch anything that they do. They run in numbers. Okay? Now, I have a Bucket watching my back. All right? Bucket don't have arms. Bucket don't have legs. Bucket can't fight. So it's just me. It's just me and these two fists. All right? And I do what I can. And I try my best. But then, Scott Atlas wants to use a weapon. 24K wants to use his chain. All these guys, they need to take shortcuts. I've never taken a shortcut in my life, and I don't plan on taking any shortcuts dealing with them. But if they want to play, and they want to play dirty, I can play that game too.
And Scott, do you have anything else that you want?
I mean, I wrote down two names. I wrote down Scott Atlas, and I wrote down another name. So evidently Scott Atlas is not the only one that you're having beef with right now.
No, 24K.
This guy named Sean Mordecai. Yeah,
here's the thing about Sean Mordecai is I really don't have beef with him. He's just in my way. He's just in my way of getting to those two. And now Scott Atlas, he has a side quest going on with Mike Goodman or Stuntman Mike or whatever he wants to call himself these days. Long story short, Stuntman Mike, he did a stunt, got hit in the head a little too hard. Now he doesn't know who he is. He's either Stuntman Mike or he's Mike Goodman, private investigator. Depends on how he gets hit in the head during his match, which one he is, which one he's not. But that's fine if they want to do their thing. But eventually, I'm going to get my hands on Scott, and I'm going to get him alone. And when I get him alone, and he has no help, and he has no backup, and it's just one-on-one, man-to-man, hand-to-hand, I'm going to hand him his ass. And you can take that as a promise.
I'm not a booker or anything like this, but you have that show in October. Maybe a cage match with you and Scott.
They threw away our cage.
Oh no!
Another thing. Here's a IWE deep cut for you. We had a cage at the place, the Artesia Youth Park. That's where we store a lot of our equipment because that's, our home base. We usually have our shows there unless we're on the road. And we had this really cool cage made. It was green. It looked cool. We usually did it for our Halloween shows. And we get there one day and we noticed, because we kept it out back, that it's gone. Somebody had broken in and stolen it and stole a bunch of tools and like a bunch of stuff from the youth center, probably for scrap metal. So I don't think a cage match is in the cards right now, only because our cage got stolen. But, maybe we can figure something out. I did mention a casket before, but I think I want to get my hands on 24K before I want to get him on Scott Atlas. I'm going to save Scott Atlas for last. It's kind of like dessert. It's going to be that much sweeter once it finally comes.
24K, I do remember at that show in it was what, July, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
June actually.
yeah, June. Yeah, late June.
That was the clip. That's who I dropped the elbow on in that clip.
Yes.
His expression, I gotta say, was like, you know, at the end of his, yeah.
Well, I'm a big dude, so
I'm amazed that he actually would be mad enough to get back in the ring with you after that absolute beatdown you put on him. But
well, he's not. He's not. But again, Frankenbucket up there, for those of you who are not following IWE storyline, he is the president. I was made the president of the company when Rick Green stepped down, but I felt being both the wrestler and the president was a conflict of interest, so I gave the reins to Frankenbucket. So Frankenbucket up there, he's actually the one who makes the matches. He's actually the one who puts the cards together. He tells me what to write down, and I write it down. And then you have on the other side of the coin, you have old Craig Stossel, and he's the manager of the Greater Good, but he's also the executive producer of IWE, specifically IWE programming. So he has the power and the authority to make matches as well. He can't overrule Frankenbucket. Frankenbucket can't overrule him, because if you try to overrule Craig Stossel, he'll just cancel the show. He's the executive producer. So there's a lot of checks and balances there. But yeah, it's not that 24K is man enough to get in the ring with me. He just has no choice if he wants a paycheck.
That's true. That's very true. So again, thank you. We are at the hour mark. It's every time you come on, it's a pleasure. Just talking to you is just so much fun, because it's like Scott said at the beginning, we get to escape reality for whatever. And Scott and I, the past 10 months have just been insane and just full of ups and downs. And wrestling has been the one constant for us that we're able to walk away from the negative and focus on something that's not so horrible, like just not something that's such negativity. And
sure.
Again, as fans, I want to say thank you.
Hey, no, listen, without the fans, wrestling wouldn't exist. So, thank you. And anytime you guys, Scott, I believe you live in Florida, yeah?
Right, yes.
Okay, but if you guys are ever in the area and you guys can ever, make it to a show, I know it's a bit easier for you, Matt, than it is Scott, but, anytime you guys can make it to a show or anything like that, hey, let me know. We'll make it a good experience for you. Maybe we can get you guys in the ring. You guys can talk about your podcast and do some plugs and stuff like that. It's honestly, without you guys, we're all just flogging ourselves, basically.
Unfortunately, I'll be up 2 weekends after your show in October. I come up on the weekend of the 26th. So 3
How long
weekends.
you staying?
5 till the 30th.
Okay, because I was gonna say, if you were staying until like December or something like that, we have a show December also, and that show in December, if I can get this plug out too, that show in December is a benefit for Riley LaDyka, which is Trevor Stroud's son. Trevor Stroud's son was recently diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And so we're going to do a show to raise money for him, raise money for the family, to kind of help alleviate some of those costs that come along with all of that. So, really proud to be able to do that for him, and really proud to be able to do that for the family too. So, but yeah, anytime you guys need anything from IWE, please don't hesitate. The more we can help each other, the better off the business is.
Maybe one night while we're up there in Holton Lake, I got my equipment. I'll bring my equipment up with me, so maybe we can do maybe we could do a work interview type thing, or talking about the October 6th event. So
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Yeah, just keep me posted on everything. Yeah, I'd love to get together with you guys, if not for anything, just to hang out.
Absolutely.
And again, next week we have that low life Scott Atlas coming in. Tune in next week. We may or may not have a creature lurking in the background, checking stuff out.
Depends on what my work schedule is looking like.
So again, thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks,
Here,
John.
can I get some plugs in real quick?
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Okay. You can find us online, iwegladiators.com. You can search us out on Facebook, Imperial Wrestling Entertainment. Our next show coming up is September 7th at Oscoda Rockfest. Rockfest is a big music festival. The headliner is the original voice of the band Saliva, Josie Scott. He's going to be there. IWE is going to be there. We're going to be doing a full card. For more information on that, ScotiaRockFest.org. And then October 5th and December 7th, we're going to be back at our home base in Houghton Lake, the Artesia Youth Park. For more information on that, you can visit IWE Gladiators or check us out on Facebook too. At the Artesia Youth Park shows, tickets are always only $10 at the door, and kids 10 and under are always free. We want families to be able to come out and support IWE, and we want you guys to be able to come and, not break the bank. So we always keep it affordable. Bring your family, tell your friends. And I hope to see everybody out at the matches. Thank you all for your support.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
I'll never back down. I'll never back down. I'll never back down.